Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. It's a little bit after 4, and so here we are, day 21. So I've been sitting down making art for 21 days. I've only been streaming um, during the weekdays. That's the only time I can kind of really consistently stream at the same time. So if you're tuning in again and you want to say hi, it's always awesome to see who's out there. So you can pop into the comments and say hi. So yeah, 21 days. That means that counting today, there's only 10 days left of this challenge. I'm pretty pleased with myself. I have a hard time following through with things sometimes, and I think having this challenge, especially coming live, doing it live streaming every day, except for weekends, has really helped me. And even on weekends, it's like, okay, I've got to go into the studio because it's really, I'm limiting myself to an hour. And so I can easily find an hour, even on the weekends, to pop into the studio. So I've just been really exploring a lot of different ideas. One of the things I haven't been doing that I do a lot is using words, and that's been really interesting to kind of see what I have been making. And so I've been kind of experimenting, trying out different things, but at the same time, I've been really kind of discovering some of the ideas and some of the techniques and some of the imagery that really kind of hooks me, that I really come back to again and again. And this has been a process for me to like show up and try to figure out what some of these things really mean and what they're all about. So it's really interesting to look back at the work and like see how like sometimes things are very different, but then how things are also very much the same. And I think that's kind of, that's our style. That's the things that we are constantly drawn to. So for those of you that just are tuning in, if you want to pop into the comments and say hi, excuse me, I greatly appreciate that. So today I'm going to start out maybe a little bit differently than I have, and this is all because of something I did a little bit earlier in the day. I recently, well, not recently, probably about a month or so ago, if not longer, signed up for an online workshop by artist Crystal Neubauer. And if you're not familiar with Crystal Neubauer, she's a collage artist, lives out in Illinois, used to have I guess she still does have a studio in Racine, Wisconsin, and really awesome collage artist. And I was fortunate to interview her for my podcast back in July, and I'd signed up to take this online workshop she was doing called Discovering Your Intuitive Voice. And just really kind of interested to just kind of see her approach. And so I finally got a chance to sit down and actually start the class today, and did an activity that she does where it's like you do collage for like 5 minutes. And so I did that, and I actually ended up making 3 of them, so 3 5-minute collages. And I really liked that. And I was like, oh, I really like just kind of working that quickly, that intuitively. And I thought that might make a great base for the work that I'm going to do today. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with some collage. So let me go ahead and switch us over. And like I said, if you want to pop into the comments and say hi, if you've got any questions or comments, again, always feel free to ask those. So anyway, go ahead and switch it. All right, so let me just make sure I'm on the right thing. All right, so I've got my 4-inch by 4-inch paper. I've got a bunch of collage material. I've got my glue book here. So this is just a cheap sketchbook I got at one point. And let me go ahead. It looks like I need to adjust my settings a little bit. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I've got a bunch of collage materials, and I was kind of working with certain materials, a lot of the same things that I've worked with a lot before, and I just really liked kind of the randomness of it and how things were coming together. So that's kind of what that's what I'm thinking about today, is really like, can I start out by gluing down a bunch of collage materials and then building up. I know somebody, I can't remember who it was asking one day about using a bunch of papers and textures and such. And the other thing is I got to break out a brand new glue stick, and this is nice dark blue, and I know it dries totally clear, so that's one of the reasons I like it. But anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna, basically the idea is that, working intuitively, not thinking too much about it, and setting that timer for 5 minutes. I'm not going to do the 5-minute thing for this, but in this exercise that Crystal shared in this workshop, was that notion of the time just kind of, it doesn't give you time to think. And that's a good thing. It allows you to just react. You pick a material and you glue it down. You don't think too much about it. And so, it's like if you needed to alter it for whatever reason, again, the notion is just to kind of do it quickly and not get too concerned about, like, oh, it's got to be this one way. And what she kind of suggests is like to put glue on it and then sort of figure out where it's going to get glued, and then, really thinking about just kind of relying on your gut instincts, So whenever I have big pieces like this, I just like to cut, and the cut straight line is always good to get a straight edge. I'm going to rip this one. And so just again, just trying to like work kind of quickly and put some stuff down. So I'm going to really use this as a background. And so as I was doing this, as I was working with Crystal's workshop today, I just, and when I was done, I was like, oh, I was actually really digging the texture of the cut, like of all the collage materials. And I thought, well, what would that look like with some other materials on top of it? So I was only able to do the very first lesson of her workshop, but I don't want to give away all of her secrets, but I just kind of like that idea of working fast and getting something down, and just to use it as a background. So if you're not familiar with Crystal and her work, you should definitely check her out. She's on Facebook. She's got a website. Like I said, she's teaching some online classes. So again, a lot of the collage things that I've been using, but now just kind of using it to create this this background. And so I just wanted to get something going, something started, so that I've got something to work on top of, and we'll see how this goes. I work with transparent materials, and so sometimes if you go too dark with the collage, then the transparent materials don't show up all that well, but we'll see what it's like. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the papers, the collage materials, are all going to kind of react differently with the different materials that I use. Let me get some of this collage stuff out of the way. Yeah, had created these 3 little collages, and I just ended up with all these little pieces and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use those. All right, get that out of the way. And I'm going to hit this with a hair dryer again. I find that, like when I feel this, I can feel that it's a little wet. It's a little cool, and it's nice and cool today here in Virginia. You can see I'm wearing a fleece. But with the glue being wet, it's more apt to kind of peel off when I paint over it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the hair dryer. Okay, so got that started. I was just looking at the comments, and I think it was Kathy was asking. Crystal's last name is Neubauer, Neubauer, I think. But yeah, definitely check her out. So I've got this going now. I think I'm just gonna use some watercolor just to get something down. I have a lot of sort of neutral, maybe kind of yellowish, earth tone-ish color. So I'm going to just use this reddish brown color just to kind of put some color down. Maybe a little bit of this golden color. So because these materials are not made for paint, some of them really just soak up the paint, and others it sort of slides on it. So this is going to give me a slightly different feel, maybe. So the paint doesn't spread like it does on the mixed media paper, because mixed media paper and watercolor paper, they all have what's called sizing, and the sizing actually regulates how quickly the paint soaks into the paper. And so that's why, like on a good quality mixed media paper or watercolor paper, you can really push the paint around and it stays wet for a pretty long time, and it doesn't just soak into the paper. So with some of these, especially with the newsprint, the paint just kind of soaked right in. Let's do a little splattering. So one of the things that I like about using this color scheme, especially this reddish brown, it's very kind of rust-like, and so it just kind of gives me this feel of it being kind of old. Kind of goes with the yellowish papers. You know, how the book paper changes, kind of gets yellowish. So it kind of just gives me this very kind of old, affected by time feel. So even though I was kind of using materials that were fairly related as far as like their color scheme, using the paint really just kind of helps tie it all together. The green little dots there stand out. That's kind of interesting, and the dark black text of the bingo card stands out. So I think I want to use some of my Inktense pencils. So I really like the randomness of working so quickly with the collage. I was working on a piece this weekend, and I got real tight with it, and it wasn't as loose as I'd like, and that's one of the things that I'm struggling with, or have been struggling with actually here a lot lately. Not so much in these little pieces, because that time limit of an hour just really makes me work pretty quickly. And really it's less than an hour, by the time I do a little introduction and talk about stuff, and of course, it's like, oh, I've got to find materials. It really is more like 45 minutes to 50 minutes that I'm actually working on a piece. But having that limit, really just forces me to be like, okay, that I can't overwork it. I don't work on these whenever the time's up. It's like I've made that commitment that, like, once 4 o'clock hits, once I kind of have said I'm done, then I'm done, and I sign it and don't do anything else with them. Even if there's something that I feel like, oh, that one didn't turn out all that great, and I really want to go back and do this or that on it. I stick to that notion that, like, okay, I had my time to work on it, and that's it. And so, yeah, I find myself just being much more free with these little pieces. But then, I've been trying to take some of these ideas and work them into other pieces. So whether it's my weekly time-lapse Journal Friday videos, or whether it's another piece. And so I was working on a piece, I think it was on Saturday, and I just really felt like I just got so caught up, and I like it, but it was something that, and I posted it on Instagram, but it was just something that I still just kind of felt like didn't have the energy. And so I think there's something about that, like when you are working with a limited time, you do have to work quickly, and I think it gives a piece a different energy than if you have a whole lot of time to work on it. And I just find that because I have a tendency to overwork my pieces, that sometimes they feel it. They feel stagnant. And that's one of the things I've struggled with over the past couple years, really, is really kind of trying to, I don't know, I feel like a lot of my work is like just lacking an energy. So we'll see how working on this challenge every day for a month, and seeing how working through Crystal's online workshop will maybe affect that, help me figure some of that stuff out. Or maybe I just need to, every time I sit down to work, like, okay, I'm giving myself this amount of time. So the squares are a little bit more subtle because of all the collage and the color underneath it. So I feel like things have gotten a little dark. I mean, I can go darker and create more contrast, and I can lighten up and use like my white colored pencil, or use some other colors to create contrast. But I think I want to get some more contrast with some collage. Good. Pop something out of the map here. So I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this map during the course of this month, and it's a map of Washington D.C., so very close to where I live. So I kind of have that bit of a connection to it, but not really using it because it's a map of D.C. Using it more because it's just a map. So I'm thinking that I want to use this, but I don't. I mean, it almost makes sense to cut a square out of it, but I don't know if I want to do a square. I think I want to do a circle. Grab my circle template. So what I'm hoping is that by using this piece of collage, since it has white in it, it's going to bring back some of that contrast that I've kind of covered up. I've really gotten into the circles lately, and I used them. I'm trying to think if I used them in both of the pieces over the weekend. And so that's a lot of contrast. It might be a little bit too much for right now. So I think, just that one piece. I want a little bit of balance. I'm going to bring in and use a slightly different circle and just do part of a circle. And then I'll probably do another little circle up there. And so when I there's a big part of me that just can't forget about design, and I think it's just from 20 years of teaching school and teaching students about trying to create visually interesting but visually balanced works, and thinking about the circles So now there's 3 spots that are contrast, and because of the triangle, I keep coming back to the big one here, so that's my focal point. But that nice triangle really it's a nice contrast to the squares. So if you're kind of wondering what I was thinking about whenever I put those down, that's what it was. And so really thinking about the maps, I've been using this DC map and other maps a lot. It's just, mapping has been something that has been a part of my art making for a really long time. And it's something that I still haven't definitively put my finger on it. But I think a lot of it has to do with that notion of finding our place, of knowing where we are, and then also thinking about how we get to other places, and that maps help us navigate the world. So there's a lot of symbology behind using maps. Go ahead and hit that with the hairdryer. I've got 2 different reds here. I've got a poppy red and a cherry red. I think I'm going to use the cherry red, which is a little bit darker. I like using red with this color scheme of the yellows and the browns and the golden colors. And if you've tuned in before, you've probably seen me do other pieces that use the same color scheme. But what's nice is using the red now contrasts the green in the map and in the background. So I think I shared this before, but one of the things that I keep coming back to, one of the notions, one of the ideas that keeps coming up is this idea of self-discovery, and that I think that's what life is. I mean, life is just all about kind of discovering who you are, figuring out what that is, and then what is your impact on the world going to be. And part of that has led me to think about this idea of shining, of how some people are afraid to allow themselves to shine, or don't believe that they have the capability or even the right to shine. How many times do we make ourselves small to fit in, or to fit that what we feel like the world wants us to be, but it's not what we want to be? And so that's an idea that I've been kind of playing around, and how do I kind of show that in my art? So I think that's one of the reasons I keep using these circles, because I'm thinking I might end up putting some yellow or something in that, but we'll see. So using one of my favorite Castell Pitt artist pens. And this one thing I like about the black pens is you can get them in a wide variety of tip sizes. And so I finally started using one that has a nice fat tip on it. It's kind of like just like a regular Sharpie almost. But it allows me to get these nice, thick, bold lines. Kind of doing these thick lines around these circles just kind of gives me a feeling of like peering through a magnifying glass. That somehow what's inside is actually magnified from the background or something. even though there's no maps in the background. I feel like I want some red shapes in there. And since I'm doing circles, use some of my punchinella. Oh, I think that pen's dried out. take a little bit of yellow. Just painting it over the maps. Number one, it's going to kind of tone down the white, but still kind of keep that contrast. I'm just kind of thinking about that shine idea. I like where this one's headed. I think I'm just going to use some colored pencil on now. I think I want to bring in some other red, but I don't want to use the watercolor or the Inktense pencils. So I've got a couple different colors here. I'm going to use, this is Derwent calls it Loganberry, but it's basically like a dark red violet or like a dark magenta. So even though these yellow circles have the black line around them, I can make them pop out even more by darkening up the value around it. So I'm using this darker red violet as kind of like the shadow, and then I'm going to blend some of the red on top of it. So bring more contrast to it, but then also at the same time I'll start to kind of read a little bit like a shadow. So the yellow circles with the black outline will actually kind of almost seem to float, like they're popping out away from the paper. And that's one of the things I like to do too a lot, is to create some different spaces, just this idea of kind of like different levels of space within the piece. Yeah, this is something that maybe I could do with watercolor or even kind of like acrylic paint. Um, Number one, I don't want to get out of acrylic paint, and number two, I want to. The colored pencil just gives me more control. And I first came to art as just somebody who drew, and got into a lot of the mixed media stuff much later in my artistic career. So I enjoy going back to a material that I used to use a lot of, and kind of going back to those drawing roots. So just like how the red just kind of bumps it up, and like I said, kind of creates a little bit of a shadow. Got this like little sliver of light at the side that's kind of bugging me. And that's the thing, sometimes with the edges I don't quite take my paint all the way up to the edge, and then the edge is much lighter than the rest of it, and it just looks a little bit odd. Alright, well, I'm thinking this one is done. It's getting about that time. I don't know if there's really anything else I want to do to it. I think I'm just going to sign it. Question is where? Maybe down here. All right, well, that kind of wraps up my work for day number 21. Before I sign off, I did notice that Stephanie had asked about the surface that I'm working on. So the surface I work on is just a piece of masonite. Sometimes it's called hardboard. So if I just went to Home Depot, it's a nice big piece that covers my table. I have a plastic folding table underneath it, so this makes a nice hard surface to work on. It's nice and smooth. It's actually what a lot of drawing boards are made out of. So I just went to Home Depot and just bought a nice big piece. So it's a great surface to work on. And the thing is, like, if you get it wet a little bit, it's not too big of a deal. It's something you don't want to get wet all the time, but doing the watercolor paint on it doesn't seem to really hurt it. So anyway, yeah. So day 21. So that means that I've got 9 days left of this month. I've already started thinking about October. I think I want to do something, an art challenge for October, but I don't think it's going to be the same. Actually, what I'm thinking, if you're not familiar with my work, I do monsters. One of the things I do is monsters. So I was thinking a monster a day for October. Hey, it's October, Halloween's at the end. So I think that's what I'm thinking about for October, but that's still a little ways away. Anyway, I really appreciate you tuning in for day number 21. I'll be back, same time every weekday in September. So now through whatever next week. So I'm just going to check, see if there's any other questions. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and pop them in the comments. All right. Stephanie mentioned something about her watercolor pencils looking kind of grainy on top of uh, okay, so yeah, if you layer watercolor pencil on top, depending on the surface, like if you're working with the watercolor paper, I notice that sometimes mine kind of look grainy as well. What happens is that the pigment gets into the texture of the paper, and it gets hard to layer on top of. So you might notice that when you get several colors down, and especially when you go to paint over it, it's like it'll kind of almost wipe off some of the watercolor pencil, and that's kind of common. Again, it just sort of, that pigment gets down into the texture of the paper, and then as you paint over it, a lot of times you're kind of wiping off sort of what's on the high spots. So it might be the paper you're using. I don't know what kind of paper you're using. I've never actually used that brand of watercolor pencil, but I've noticed, like, even with my Inktense, if I layer a whole lot of it on top, there's just a lot of pigment down, and it doesn't, after a while, it just almost stops layering. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. But like I said, I always try to sit down and comment in the comments, so that way I can kind of give it a little bit more thought as well. So anyway, well, I'm going to sign off for today. So I will be back tomorrow, same time, and hope you can join me to make some more art.